Welcome to a very quick but interesting video on how MacPaint evolved from MacSketch. We're going to look at prototype versions of the MacSketch and MacPaint applications. This MacSketch demo is from July 1983. The disk was labeled The New Finder Demo, which introduced the desktop, icons, and menus as we know them today. Double-clicking on icons doesn't work yet. You have to remember the names of the file to open it through the application. Let's start MacSketch. Immediately, you're interrupted with a dialog box where you have to type the name of the file or create a new one. I typed guns since it was a short name and was easy to remember. Clicking on the grabber lets you move the picture, just like in the final release, but you'll notice the icon looks a little strange. This was before Susan Kerr redesigned it into the familiar and nicer look. Here are some fonts that were built directly into MacPaint, along with system fonts. There's also an Apple menu that shows the version. The lasso tool was still under construction, but you could activate it via the debug menu by pressing Command 1. Now you could try the lasso tool. There were also what I call finger icons, which came from Lisa and were the first tools used to draw and select. They had no function in this version and were replaced in MacPaint 0.1, which only had 20 tools instead of 22. The paint bucket was also a weird-looking icon that was changed later. The function stayed the same. Selecting a pattern allowed you to fill an area. There was no eraser tool, so you had to erase the document from the file menu. Let's try some fonts. Century. You could change it to tile or cursive. There was also Mix font, which was later renamed to San Francisco. Let's set it to native size, like 18 points. There was also the Finder font for the desktop, showing system files. Patty. Small. Cream. A well-known font from Xerox. Gotcha. Also from the Xerox Smalltalk system. Helvetica and Times Roman. And famously, the system font, which was renamed from Elephant and later redesigned as Chicago. Now we can revert the document back to the backup. Let's start MacPaint 0.1, which came with the old Finder that looked like a 5 1/4 floppy disk. You had to select a tab and click the Do It button to open it. Same procedure. Type the name of the file you remembered from the disk. Here it is, Susan Kerr's picnic invitation. The Apple menu shows the application version. Similar menus as MacSketch. The grabber tool still looks the same. The lasso tool is now fully implemented. Playing with tools. We can revert to backup and save and quit. Let's see another version of MacPaint, version 0.3 from July 26, 1983. In this Finder version, you had to define a file as an application before you could open it. Let's open Steve's graphic. The brush tool was still a square. You couldn't change it to any other shape yet. Nothing else new yet. Let's look at MacPaint 0.3.1 from August 1983. This version introduced the round brush option for the first time. You could select it from the Aids menu or by double-clicking the tool. Let's choose the diamond shape. Or try another shape and pattern to draw. Now we skip to version 0.5, which shortened the menus to just File, Edit, and Aids. We also have an eraser tool. It's not in the correct position yet, but this is just the first appearance. All tools were clickable to open options like font style or size. Version 0.6 was basically the same, nothing new here. Let's try some fonts. The next version we have here is 0.7. It returned the menus to their previous layout. The tools look more or less like the final version, except the eraser tool is still flipped. Clicking on tools opened option menus. The last version we've come across is version 0.95, which had been made between the 7th and the 14th of December. It was found on early MacPaint tour discs. We could see the version number in the Apple menu, About MacPaint. Same dialog box was used in the final version. New in this version is the introduction picture with the listed tools and shortcuts all available in the goodies menu. That all stayed pretty much the same to the final version. The menus, patterns, and icons were all final here. There were more changes to be made in the debug menu, which was removed from the final version, and some text corrections were made. This version introduced Open File or New File option. You didn't have to remember the name of the file, but you could just select it from the dialog box window. So we have here graphic samples from the guided tour. And now we can trace some edges or edit the pattern. Let's make a smile pattern similar to the one found on early MacPaint 0.1 mockup version documents. The final release of MacPaint version 1.0 has a creation date of January the 24th. And that's it. MacPaint did have some additional updates. It went from version 1.3 to 1.4 and the final 1.5. There was also a version 2.0, but the author wasn't Bill Atkinson. It was taken over by Claris Corporation. That's all for now. Please also read the article on Low End Mac for more information about how MacPaint evolved from MacSketch. Thank you.